A very common question that I get asked a lot on different social events is, Andreas, what can I do to protect my investments, my portfolio from a recession? And I believe that this question is so common because the media tends to portray and build up threats. For example, look at the media today talking about Evergrande, the Chinese real estate giant, and they talk about the debt ceiling, and they talk about different crises in the supply chain. And if it's not one of those three, it's something else. Everything to drive clicks. So a lot of people are worried. And to build you a framework about how you can think to recession proof your portfolio, we will take a look at an economic concept called an inferior good. And if you're already familiar with this, you can skip to the examples of inferior goods and call to action, because I believe that we can help each other out here in finding different investment opportunities. I see a lot of great comments on this channel, whether it's different option strategies or some very clever questions. All right, so if you're new to inferior good, we'll take a look at what it is. So the concept is that an inferior good, it's not something terrible, it's not a crappy good. It just means that this good will be bought more of if the person has less income. So let's say you're buying a lot of vegetables and then you lose your job, and then instead you start to buy canned meat or something. All right, so that's the concept. It's a good that people buy more of when they have less income. So as their incomes increase, they buy less of it, and as their income decrease, they buy more of it. This is the concept. So not low quality, just as income decrease, people buy more of it. And why do this matter? Well, if we take a look at history, we can see that these inferior goods, they tend to be protected from recession. And if we take a look at, for example, the financial crisis of 07-08, the only two stocks that went up was, McDonald's and Walmart. So, I mean, that speaks for itself, right? So this is why it matters. This is why we talk about inferior goods, and you can build a framework using this. We will get more into that on the call to action. But first, let's exemplify a few inferior goods to start to develop this concept more. All right, so examples of inferior goods. For example, canned vegetables. The fresh ones are a lot more expensive, and as your income drops, well, maybe you buy canned ones instead. Also, fast food. For example, McDonald's in this example. Just think back to your student days. Maybe you ate a lot more McDonald's. At least I did. And then once you go out and start working, etc., then you start buying less of it. Public transportation, bus, for example. And then people start to get more income, they buy a car instead. Cheap motels. As people get more money, they buy hotels instead. But when income decreases, they go back to buying cheap motels. And then also generic store brands. They're cheaper and people tend to pick them as income decrease. So this is some examples of inferior goods, just to really develop the concept. And I want to make a call to action on this video as well. So if you're economics students and you're watching this, then a good way to continue develop your frame of mind is to do some research on the concept of income elasticity. There you get all the theoretical formulas behind this concept, and you can do some sort of calculations on your own, very theoretical although. But I want you to just have this framework when you think about this. Think about how a person that's worried about their income will spend their money. I like to think about this example that I used to do when I sit and talk to my friends when we go to a coffee shop or something like that. I like to think, if I were to open up exactly the same type of store right next to this coffee shop, what could I do to outcompete them? How could I take all the customers from this business and get them to my business instead and make them want to spend money with me and not this competitor? So when you think about inferior goods, think about what makes people want to spend money on this when they're in a poor economic situation and their income is decreasing, recession, people getting laid off. Have this mindset. Try to be empathetic and think in the shoes of a person with decreasing income, and just really use this framework. And if you come to mind with some good ideas, please put them in the comments below of other inferior goods and the company behind that you believe this will stand up very well in a recession. Right. It's been how to recession proof your portfolio using the concept of inferior good. I hope you make a lot of money trading, friends. Take care. Bye bye.